Monday presented by Bud Light. Tonight, the 183rd meeting in the basketball version of the Backyard Brawl, one of the great rivalries in all of college athletics. The Pittsburgh Panthers and the West Virginia Mountaineers, two schools separated by just 70 miles, go head-to-head tonight at the raucous, sold-out WVU Coliseum. West Virginia returns home after a controversial loss Saturday at Syracuse. They trailed the Orange by 2 in the late seconds. Dennis Kalich's shot was goaltended, but it went uncalled. West Virginia still down by 2. They did get another chance for the win when Jabari Hines kicked it out to Kevin Jones for what would have been a game-winning 3, but the shot didn't drop, and it was a heartbreaking loss for the Mountaineers. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Big Monday. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, Bill Raftery, delighted to have you with us. And Jay, the big question for West Virginia tonight, how will the Mountaineers respond after a very difficult defeat 2 days ago?
You know, they did get a bad break, but it's time to move on. And this traditionally has not been a game decided by pretty. This is going to be decided by tough plays. And that means the glass. Rebounding of paramount importance to the two best offensive rebounding teams in the Big East tonight.
And Bill, Pittsburgh, a team that is coming on, they lost their first 7 Big East games. That was shocking. They have their guard Trey Woodall back from injury, and they've been a different team lately.
Good teamwork leads to chemistry and harmony, and that stems from the top. Unfortunately, we don't have much of that, but you're right. Trey Woodall gets the pieces in the right place, makes good decisions, and ends up in his hands at the end of the shot clock, and good things happen.
And as we look at tonight's one-on-one segment, we focus on the leading scorer and rebounder in the Big East, Kevin Jones.
Well, Kevin Jones, an outstanding offensive rebounder because he gets great position, usually on the weak side. He uses his leverage. He may play below the rim, but he goes after with both hands. 4.5 offensive rebounds a game.
And Jay, a power forward, Nasir Robinson, one of those guys, a do-it-all. He's a basketball player. Whatever has to be done, he accomplishes. Good around the rim, uses the bounce, finds his teammates, just plays hard.
They're coming off a big win Saturday at home against Georgetown, in which Robinson was a star. Woodall back at the point with their leading scorer Gibbs, Lamar Patterson, Nasir Robinson, and Talib Zana. For West Virginia, 15-7 overall, 5-4 in the Big East. The freshman Hines, the point guard, with Chuck Bryant. Keaton Miles up front with Kevin Jones and Dennis Kalichla. They've been playing since 1904. West Virginia, the all-time lead. Pittsburgh's had the upper hand lately, and Kalichla controlled the tip for West Virginia.
Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Hit, go!
Kalichla looking for a back cut, then it flicked away for a moment by Trey Woodall.
You know, he doesn't concentrate. He's a good passer, but lackadaisical in traffic.
Most important matchup, Nasir Robinson guarding Kevin Jones. Jones hasn't always had great games against Pittsburgh.
Shot clock about to run out. Jabari Hines, the freshman from Mount Vernon, New York, was the first score of the game.
He lets Truck play off the ball. Bryant, that is. See if he can light it up.
Bryant, the best perimeter defender on this West Virginia team, taking on Ashton Gibbs. He's going to have to chase him through a lot of screens.
Woodall missed 11 games with an abdominal injury and a groin problem. Zana had a shot block but got it back off the floor, and Pittsburgh is on the board.
That's the kind of play that can ultimately decide this game. The 50-50 ball, the offensive rebound. It's not the initial action. It might be the play after the play that decides it.
Is there motion offense? A lot of step and go.
That's the tough one to guard, that curl.
And that cross screen.
Kalichla, nice move. He's slightly more comfortable with the left hand. Scored with the right. He's coming off a tough shooting day at Syracuse, and that lost 2 for 10. And that was against the Syracuse team that was without big Fab Mello in the middle of that 2-3 zone defense.
He's slightly more comfortable where he can see without that heavy-headed hair. He has got it trimmed up. That's a cross screen, Jay.
Well, just after he comes off that curl, sometimes that's hard to guard, but this is the difference in Kalichla. That would have been a jump hook last year. Not that that's a bad shot, but he's more going toward the rim this year, more likely to get fouled.
Ashton Gibbs a miss after Keaton Miles foul. West Virginia looking to run. Bryant has not shot the ball well in his career against West Virginia. Hines shooting it very well to start the night.
But it's not the fast break. defense. You get yourself down. They don't identify quickly. A nice kick out. And then the stroke.
Hines only shooting 37% in Big East play. That's a big development to have him knock down a couple early. Now you have to go out and respect him.
He's got a lot of varieties.
And to shoot for Pitt. Woodall. He rattles home a three.
Woodall.
Trey Woodall, Jr. from Brooklyn, New York. Also spent some time in his youth in Paterson, New Jersey. Played at St. Anthony in New Jersey for that famed high school program. Really nice back cut, but then Bryant couldn't handle the pass from Keaton Miles.
You know, Louis Conasec at St. John's used a pass left, screen right. Old-fashioned play. They've done it twice now. A goal once for Klitsch on that time, just an errant pass, cost them another.
It's just a curl off that. They ran the same stuff. It's almost like they run off a post in the middle of the lane. And it's really hard to guard because you're trailing it.
Woodall again off the mark. And a rebound down to Truck Bryant.
Too much for Pitt. You better play on the catch. You can stroke him.
Litchlip from Turkey. Miles has not been a scorer so far this year, and Zana fouls Litchlip on the catch. First foul on Talib Zana. West Virginia,
His first personal.
coached by Bob Huggins. 3 and 6 against Pitt at his alma mater. Bryant. And that's big. Typically when he has good shooting nights, they win. When he scuffles, they lose. West Virginia 4 out of 5 from the floor to start the night.
They're not alert on that out of bounds at all.
No, it's just a simple little out of bounds play, and they run that a lot. He just popped back. They use Kalichla to screen for him. He can go either way or he can fade off, and that was just a bump back.
Bryant had shot just 21% from 3 over the last 4 games. Robinson, Jamie Dixon, the Pittsburgh coach, wanted a foul, didn't get the call from Ed Corbett. He's working with Sean Corbin and Pat Driscoll.
Jay, you mentioned that matchup earlier. That is a good one. Two good defenders. I thought it was a clean swipe, but great body control by Jones.
Foul called as Patterson tried to get a shooting foul. I think they're going to say it was before the shot. It is the second on Keaton Miles.
And Sean, Jamie was really furious. I think it's the right call, though. He got hit and then smartly released it.
Saw Jamie's winning record against West Virginia. He has a winning record against every team in the Big East as the head coach at Pitt.
And he comes in here and wins too, which is a hard thing to do. I think he's got 4 here.
He's 4 and 4 overall.
Yeah.
That's more wins here than any other coach in the history of Pitt basketball. As we mentioned, they've been playing this rivalry since 1904. Kevin Jones, good defense. And we reach our first media timeout with Huggins squad up by 5.
A nice thing right now, I think, for West Virginia, you can play off the ball with Hines dominating the lane. Little stroke, Jay.
And when he gives it up, Truck Bryant on that little out of bounds play, gets his feet set, knocks it down. When he's hot early, it's good news for West Virginia.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. And in part by the Capital One Cup. Learn more and check the standings at CapitalOneCup.com. And Hyundai. If it's fuel efficient, affordable, stylish, and safe, it's probably a Hyundai.
Very pleasant night outside the WVU Coliseum in Morgantown. Such a wonderful winter for much of the country. We come inside the building. Let's go inside the play.
You know, Sean, out of bounds underneath does not have to be complicated, and Bob Huggins keeps it simple. You can see Truck Bryant is going to use that big body of Dennis Kalichla right here and just pop out, lean into his defender, and pop out. He could go to the ball, but he reads the defense, just gives him a little shoulder, pops right out, and winds up having a jump shot that is pretty darn easy because he didn't close out with a hand up to take away that shot and force the drive.
And another quick shot for Pittsburgh right out of the inbounding play. Lamar Patterson missed. Coming off his career high 18 points in that impressive win over Georgetown Saturday. They've had back-to-back 12-point wins of the Panthers against Providence and Georgetown.
And here's that 2-3. Jamie was saying he's passed the ball. He's played well. Lamar.
Hines off the mark. Aaron Brown just off the bench. The freshman missed the shorty after his offensive rebound.
Pitt was lucky
nice
there. They're giving up wide open shots.
How about that give? Right on the money, Woodall. And that's something that's been missing. The timing of a pass. The guy gets available. Stick him with it.
Here, Robinson's bucket has Pittsburgh back within 3. More than 5 minutes play.
Jones so tough, posts up, steps out, puts it on the deck. There's so many offensive glass the last trip.
Pitt doesn't look near as physical as they've been in last years.
Bryant the miss, but there's Kevin Jones, the leading offensive rebounder in the country. He's the 8th leading scorer in the nation at just under 21 points per game, and the 4th leading rebounder at 11.4 per game. The only 2 players who ever led the Big East in scoring and rebounding the same season in all games, Walter Berry and Troy Murphy.
2 pretty good players, huh?
Gibbs fouled by Bryant. His first.
Talking about offensive rebounding, Jay. This guy just has a nose for it, doesn't he?
Yeah, but nobody blocked him out on this one. That's amazing that Nasir Robinson just turned and looked rather than lay a body on the best offensive rebounder in the country. That's very much unlike Nasir Robinson, who usually pays great attention to detail.
It's a 3-shot attempt, so Gibbs, one of the best free throw shooters in the history of Pitt basketball, nearly 87% for his career, made the first. He's down slightly from that this year, just under 84%. For the Big East preseason player of the year, his numbers aren't quite what you might have expected. He's had a solid year, but when Woodall was injured, he was just called upon to do so much more, and the opposing defense has really focused on him even more.
He had to run the show, basically, and finish, too.
It's hard for a player that's been traditionally a 2-guard to run the team, and then when you give the ball up, now think like a scorer.
That pump fake, years ago I went into an Indiana practice. They started with Bob Knight, the drill pump fake shot. Seen it here a couple times early, getting guys to bite and get to the free throw line. I think Bob pump fakes at dinner.
John Johnson just into the game, freshman guard number 4 for Pitt, called for the foul. He held Truck Bryant, who was trying to cut. Kevin Noreen is in off the bench for West Virginia, number 34.
Into this 2-3 set, they can scissor off the middle. They'll get down screens. Now back screen.
They do either one. They do a zipper on one side, sometimes a back screen on the other. Too tough in there. Jones with the kiss over Robinson.
He has 4. He had 20 and 8 rebounds in that heartbreaking loss Saturday at Syracuse. West Virginia's had 3 tough losses in games that appeared that they got victimized by a bad call late in the game in the final seconds. John Johnson was the 3. They had a tough loss out in Vegas against Baylor. And they had a loss at Connecticut, and Connecticut was given the ball in the final seconds, but it clearly went out of bounds off a Connecticut player. Jones, a little long with a 3-ball. Wow. Barry Hines went flying through the air, didn't get it. Now it's a held ball.
Well, what a play by Hines to get on the floor after that ball.
Some elevation, huh? You mentioned 50-50, Jay. That's what it's all about. It's up for grabs. It's about 4 feet, 5 feet in the air.
They're just quicker to the ball. I mean, J.J. Moore comes up with it, but Jabari Hines right on top of him to tie it up. At least at the very minimum gets him the arrow back, so that's a good play.
You know, Pitt the last trip had a side ball screen and did a great job. Did not convert the shot, but excellent distribution.
That's their get series where they run a little double screen down low along with the ball screen.
There's the flex and the pin down, little America's play.
West Virginia has guarded very well thus far. They're there on the catch, been very active. They stay in front. This is a defense that doesn't help very much because it doesn't have to.
Shot clock under 5 now. Gibbs gave it up. Johnson had to shoot it. And the rebound down to Jones.
That was a great defensive possession.
Nice block inside by Taylor, but the scrape. Truck going to his left. Open up the easy pass lane.
Gave the foul to John Johnson, his second.
Don't you think, Bill, the scouting report on Truck Bryant, even though he can make shots, is to play him first and foremost as a driver?
Oh, I would agree. Even though he can light it up, but that's not the best part of his game. Absolutely.
You saw the numbers. We mentioned it earlier. When he doesn't shoot well, typically they lose. Kalichla comes in with Gary Brown.
Sean, Truck Bryant's an engaging kid. And we come out of visiting with Jamie Dixon. You asked me where my bag with all those secret plays is. And I said there it was. I said it's on the bench, the West Virginia bench, next to Truck Bryant. And I said, I hope he doesn't turn it over.
Oh, that was very cool.
But no, he got the biggest kick out of that. I mean, he's got just a nice personality, and I think it's one of his leadership qualities.
You should have heard what he said when you walked away.
I told him that the call up at Syracuse, there must have been a referee from Rice High School. That was one of their big rivals.
A.J. Moore's in the game. Cameron Wright as well for Pittsburgh. Moore's 44. Wright wears number 3. Dante Taylor. And a foul by Moore on the rebounding action. His first.
J.J. Moore. His first. Team's 4.
Dennis Kalichla, very popular here, partly because of his trademark beard. We come back, we'll look at some of the other notable beards of the sports world today. Big Monday continues. Talking about Dennis Kalichla's beard. Here's a look at some other well-known beards in professional sports. Brian Wilson, James Harden of the Thunder. You know, one of Bill's favorites.
Kimbo
Slice. crew apparently decided to have a little fun. They have way too much free time on their hands. So here's what they would suggest for us. I think you, Jay, look like our friend and colleague Gary McCord.
He looks like one of the disciples, I think, doesn't he? And it's nice to see you with some hair, by the way. That was my Haight Ashbury look back in the old days. I did well. Little cup on the corner.
They love Kalichla here.
He's also an accomplished guitar player. Bob Huggins was saying he's like a Turkish beatnik. Really play the guitar and plays in bars and other establishments for free.
You know, apparently one time Bob had the entire team over his house. Kalichla didn't show up. He said, "Sorry, coach, I was down at one of the local spots playing my guitar with my band."
I'm sure Bob handled that beautifully. Struck a chord.
Gary Brown, the truck Bryant out there with Jones, Kalichla, and Aaron Brown. Aaron Brown's a good three-point shooter, and he makes another one. Comes into tonight's game at just under 45% for the year from three-point range.
Too easy, really. Just ball movement on the perimeter, stepping into the shot like that.
And they did a good job of flashing into the middle. Kevin Jones trying to seal that middleman with a post-up.
Nice back cut.
By Woodall, fed by Patterson. The crowd wanted to travel, and Woodall threw it away.
West Virginia's defense has been outstanding. But here, Bill, is that ball movement that you talked about, moving from side to side and getting some action in the middle.
And, you know, when you're not used to playing zone, you're afraid to leave that back area and come up and match up like Syracuse does. I think that's the reason you're seeing a little 2-3. Of course, nobody plays it like Syracuse.
They're running that same play they ran, the little scissor cut, and trying to get Jones on a post-up.
Oh, I love the passing. Nice look, easy opportunity.
Kalichla tipped the miss by Jones. It wouldn't fall. Here comes Pittsburgh down by 8. Cameron Wright had it pop out, and it wound up with Truck Bryant. Kalichla ran the floor, but he was well guarded by Patterson.
There you go, either hand.
And a little lefty flip. Taken down by Patterson.
Nice job that blocks out by Patterson. Use that backside to get Kevin Jones out of there. He's trying to wedge his way in again for another offensive board.
Oh, nice hands defensively. Oh, impressive.
Gary Brown with the good hands. He's their team leader in steals. 5 minutes without a field goal for Pittsburgh. Moore forced one up.
Like some contact down low on that shot.
Yeah, that's the first tough one they've taken. They've had some good looks, and Jamie was mentioning, lamenting a couple of weeks ago, that's not making shots. All of a sudden they are, but not early tonight.
The last 2 games combined, both wins against Providence and Georgetown. On the heels of that 8-game losing streak, as Bryant didn't connect with Aaron Brown. Pittsburgh has shot 50% from the floor in the last 2 games. Super Tuesday features Big Ten and SEC college basketball tomorrow night, 7 Eastern time. Draymond Green leads 10th-ranked Michigan State against Illinois at 9. It's Vanderbilt and Arkansas, presented by KFC. Tomorrow on ESPN, Draymond Green averaging a double-double for the year for the Spartans.
He's putting up Big Ten Player of the Year numbers. He's been great. Well, Aaron Brown just got an earful from Bob Huggins telling him anytime you cut to the basket, you can never take your eye off the ball.
Only 9 points for Pittsburgh, nearly 11 minutes in. Woodall fouled on the drive before the shot.
Boy, it is tough to get to the rim. There is some body contact. You got to be strong with it and keep your balance as well.
I think Pitt's got to keep going into that contact and create it. I think they've been shying away from it. That's one of the reasons they haven't gotten a lot of calls.
Aaron Brown's foul, his first, the team's 4th, and a timeout called by Jamie Dixon. Back in Morgantown. Very vocal student section, as is always the case here at the Coliseum. Talk about the improvement for Pitt the last 2 games. Shot the ball particularly well in the home win against Providence, and then defended well in the follow-up win over Georgetown. But the offense much better in the last 2 games than it had been during the 0-7 Big East start. Overall, Pittsburgh had lost 8 in a row before winning the last 2 times out.
By the way, Jay, did you see Eddie Corbett count all the players on the floor just as they came back? I think of the Western Kentucky game.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Off the scrum, it's Patterson with the ball for Pittsburgh, and then Ashton Gibbs couldn't corral it on the far sideline.
A little sloppy. You don't have the break, just need it. Not his fault. The outlet.
Mountaineers, Dennis Richland. Chuck Bryant.
And what a gamble here. What a bad idea, but you got to be certain.
Crowd thought Lamar Patterson fouled there, and it appeared they might have a case. And of course, anytime you're 2 days removed away from losing a game where everybody acknowledges you got a very bad call at the end of that game, folks might be even a little more cranky when it comes toward the officiating tonight.
This is one of the great venues, too, to add to the dilemma, I think, for Pitt. They are energized, and I'm sure that had a lot to do with it, Sean.
Well, this is a tough offense to guard if you're a big guy, because you're on the perimeter. Your guy gives it up. You're going to be coming off a little curl cut at times, and you're not sure whether your man is screening or cutting.
And then, of course, the slip man on in the post-up with Glitch.
Another turnover is Brown. Couldn't find Hines, freshman to freshman. And Ashton Gibbs takes advantage. And Bob Huggins upset about the turnover. First field goal for Pittsburgh as a result in 7 minutes.
He just, like all coaches, they hate turnovers. But a lot of gamble passes, uncharacteristic of West Virginia. Low up at Syracuse, Jay, early. They give up 13 points on steals. A lot of mistakes for West Virginia type of offense.
College Hoops continues on Wednesday. Pair of games on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern. A Big East offering. Connecticut trying to get back on track against Georgetown, now ranked number 14 after losing Saturday at Pittsburgh. At 9 Eastern time, number 6 Baylor takes on Texas A&M. Wednesday night hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups on ESPN2. I'm looking forward to being in Washington, D.C. for that game at Georgetown with a real pro, Dick Vitale.
Glad to get away from us, huh?
You said that.
I want to talk to you after the game, see if you feel the same way.
Well, one of the reasons, Bill, I think Bob Huggins was so upset with that turnover is that gives Pittsburgh a score when the Panthers haven't been able to score against West Virginia's half-court defense. I mean, you give them an easy basket when they haven't been able to get anything when you make them play 5-on-5.
Gives them a little confidence.
And turned it over 3 straight possessions. Nasir Robinson a little too frisky trying to guard Kevin Jones along the block, and it's the first foul on Robinson. 5th on the Panthers, and now a media timeout with 7:56 to go in the half. All right, Carl, thank you. Welcome back, everybody, to Morgantown, West Virginia. Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, Bill Raftery. Big Monday presented by Bud Light. The Pitt Panthers, one of the most disappointing teams in the country so far this year, just 13-9. And Jay, you hit it on the head earlier about the difference being they don't guard like they used to. Last season, they led the Big East in conference games in scoring defense and field goal percentage defense, and those numbers this year way off, 12th and 13th in the conference.
Yeah, and last year wasn't the aberration. This year is. I mean, for the last 9 or 10 years, Pittsburgh has been a fabulous defensive team. And sure, they lost Gary McGee, Gilbert Brown, Brad Wanamaker, but they're not as physical. They don't bump cuts. They're not as good on the glass. There's a Dante Taylor going over the top. That was just a really good post up by Kalichel, getting into his body and ducking in. But usually a guy like Gary McGee would be playing on the line, up the line, and make it difficult. He'd have to go through your chest to get that position.
But you don't score. I mean, you're always on that defensive end as well, or you're getting beaten in transition. That's part of the dilemma, being set on that end.
Even losing Wanamaker, Brown, and McGee off a 28-win team a year ago that was the Big East regular season champs and a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament, Pitt was still picked 4th in the Big East preseason coaches poll.
Holds that ball too low.
And got it stripped to Kalichel, and they didn't take advantage of the turnover. And the second time's a charm for Dante Taylor, and he'll go to the line with a chance for a three-point play.
And Bobby wants a charge on the pass. So the open floor opportunity, but right here he gets sloppy with it. I think defensively you back off, make him hit that jump shot, and right here you see the passer running over the defender, which is why Bobby Huggins was in turmoil on that sideline.
Huggins jumped about 3 feet in the air. I don't think he jumped that high when he was a player here.
3 feet. Put those glasses on. He could use a springboard, not get 3 feet.
Bob Huggins is a good player here. Team captain in the mid and late 70s, two-time academic All-American. Minutes to go in the half.
Nice job by Zana. Had a good hands to protect Zana on that post pass.
Lots of contact and a blocking foul called as Bryant got upended by Patterson. Well, let's go back. All right. I'm not sure that was quite 3 feet.
I think it's a skip to the loo.
Well, but it's look at his second jump, the ability to get off the floor multiple times.
Quick effort.
West Virginia.
Hugg's now 58 years old, right back here in the town he was born in, Morgantown, West Virginia. Played for Jody Gardner back in the mid and late 70s.
I recruited him, as you too well know. He just didn't like my intricate offense. He liked a little freedom in his game. He claims that I sent him a plane ticket in those days, and that we canceled his flight, and he never sent the plane ticket back. Because we called just the precinct, put the ticket back and you're fired.
Now the line for the Panthers, number 3, Cameron Wright.
He is certainly one of the great coaches of his era. 706 career wins for Huggins. 20th in the all-time Division I wins list. He's coming up on Don Haskins. 719 wins.
He wins with a lot of different talent, and sometimes not the best.
I thought it was a great compliment. We talked to Jim Boeheim a couple of weeks ago, and he said of all the terrific coaches in this league, and there are a lot of excellent coaches, he said, I think Bob Huggins does the best job coaching his team of any coach in the league. And I relayed that to Huggins tonight before the game, and he really appreciated it. When somebody like Jim Boeheim says that, it's meaningful.
Nice to hear Jim spend the charm.
Woodall at the line. And after the foul by Hines is first. Of course, Huggins the 4th winningest active coach. Long way behind that other threesome of Coach K, Jim Boeheim, and Jim Calhoun. Of course, Boeheim is 1 win away now from tying Dean Smith with 879 wins on the all-time list. And Boeheim will have that opportunity Saturday when the Orange next in action against St. John's.
How about three guys from the same league when you think of it? Pretty amazing. The Hooner, the Heimer.
5 minutes without a field goal for West Virginia. The drought continues as Jones missed a 3.
Shot fake and a drive would have been nice there.
Oh, what a pass. And how about the finish? Not too bad. Nothing wrong with that by Wright.
Cameron Wright, who was scoreless in the previous 3 games. Redshirt freshman from Cleveland. Pittsburgh on the run 9-2 to get within 1 point.
Pittsburgh much more active. And Wright has actually helped with that. He's been very active defensively on Truck Bryant, using his size and his length.
Litchlet trying to back in. Well guarded by Zana. And it came off to Gibbs. And now a chance for the lead for Pittsburgh.
Pretty good zone up in the back, and not a good pass there. Not typical of Trey.
On the line for Mountaineers, Kevin
Woodall's thrown a couple of wild passes in their half-court offense.
Pretty solid look here, Jay. I just love the angle, the timing, and full speed, able to convert.
Well, that's the beauty of having Trey Woodall back in the lineup, is you've got someone that can pass ahead. Someone who thinks like a point guard.
Poor Noreen.
Well, it's a turnover festival all of a sudden. 7 of them now for West Virginia.
I'm sorry, Shorty. He just, remember a couple of the beginning of the year we were here and he was screaming, pass the ball.
Might have been another word or two in that sentence, but that was the gist of it.
My favorite is when the coach asks, "What are you doing?" Because you usually don't have an answer for that.
I'm turning it over. The response.
Was I not supposed to do that?
Zana traveled. Good defense down low by Kevin Noreen.
And makes up for it a little bit, by solid play. Body up, stay upright, and use that baseline too.
West Virginia made its first 4 shots tonight. They are 3 for 12 since what was an 8-point lead is down to 1. They have not trailed in this game. And another hold on a cut. Bryant trying to move again, and this time Cameron Wright grabbed the hold of him. Pittsburgh's over the limit.
That was a good job of selling the call by Truck Bryant. I mean, he's been getting bumped, no question. That was a foul, but he helped sell it as well.
You know, the little screen that they just ran, Jones usually is used to popping back after the screen.
Right.
They stayed right up on him. Excellent defensive coverage.
But that's a great screen because it takes the cutter either to the ball or to the basket. The cutter has some options. You know, a lot of the screens you see, like a wing to block down screen, is taking you away from the ball, away from the basket. It's a lot easier to guard.
Bryant gets to the line a lot. He's already shot 5 free throws tonight. Now 419 made free throws in his career. And that's 5th all time in West Virginia history. Woodall slapped by Noreen. And then a score on the follow-up action for the Panthers. Looked like some of the fans wanted a held ball call when Noreen pushed the ball back down toward the court. Then he came away hobbling, and Hines picked up his 2nd foul.
Woodall with a nice little play to recover this. Let's go before it hits the ground or his feet anyhow. But great hustle play.
Well, that probably was a jump ball, at least close to being it, because it stayed in Woodall's hands up until it hit the floor.
And then where was the foul? On his way back up.
That was a smart play by Trey Woodall. And Pittsburgh's been a little bit quicker to those loose balls when they've been on the floor. That's one that Woodall had the advantage.
I think they're checking who the foul is on.
They called it on Hines.
Foul line for Pitt, number 1, Trey Woodall.
He's gone to the bench with 2 fouls. So Woodall, the free throw shooter, he's 83% for the year. And they're tied at 21 from 8 down to a tie for the Panthers, as West Virginia's had 1 field goal in the last 9 minutes.
Woodall brings a lot of toughness to this team too. We talk about leadership and running the show.
Zana playing off. That's smart. Smart play.
Well, Litchlow Leaned into Zahn, who's did a nice job holding his ground. Kevin Jones there to score.
Always around. Always doing business. Like an Army-Navy store. Anything you want.
I'm not sure I get that one, but I think it's a compliment.
Well, I'll give you everything. You want some galoshes?
Robinson, nicely done, scores over Kevin Jones. Sear Robinson, senior from Chester, Pennsylvania, with 4 points. Of course, Chester High School also produced Jameer Nelson and Bo Ryan, the outstanding coach at Wisconsin.
And my backcourt man, Tony Abbott, was a St. James Chester guy. Gary McKinney coached at St. James as well, the old St. Joe's guy, Laker coach. Bring you a little old history. I know you guys know all those names.
An emotional night for Bob Huggins. Still fired up after that tough loss Saturday against Syracuse. And he didn't like the call as we go to break. The initial indication will be Pittsburgh's ball out of the timeout. All right, Carl, thank you. Just 3 straight losses for Connecticut. They've all been close. There are 3-point defeats against Cincinnati and Tennessee, and then the 2-pointer yesterday against Notre Dame. Meanwhile, Saturday, Marquette came from an early 18-point deficit back to defeat Villanova. They're in second place now in the Big East behind Syracuse. And the coach of the Orange, Jim Boeheim, as we noted earlier, a chance to catch Dean Smith on the all-time wins list.
You know, Kevin Ollie, I saw him about a week ago. He was talking about, as Jay said, the 50-50 balls. Kevin, the assistant coach at UConn. And I keep thinking, you know, they were 9-9 in the league, and they made that great run in the Big East tournament. I think Ryan Boatwright, in, out, not being part of the mix, is part of that dilemma. And hopefully they can get that thing organized. They're pretty good. They could be really good come the end of the year.
They're incredibly talented. You know, they can't have their big guys being as unproductive as they have been during this 3-game period. And actually, some games that they've won, they haven't been productive. Pittsburgh is getting easier baskets than West Virginia is getting. And that's going to catch up to you sooner or later.
Woodall gives Pittsburgh its first lead of the night.
Is that tough off the bounce? Truck gave ground. Terrific release.
The team looks a lot better when you got a guy that can do that.
Not a good entry here, a little low.
Mountaineers starting to treat the ball like it's a grenade. Held ball.
Anytime the guards can dance, that's the sweet spot on the floor. I'm sure you had a lot of strokes from this spot on the floor, didn't you, Jay? At least the warm-ups. Not too bad. Take advantage of the lapse defensively.
To be able to pull up and make that shot, that's a luxury. It makes your offense a lot better.
Kalichla. Power run up and in. And it's a 1-point lead for Pittsburgh. 4 points for Kalichla. He averages 10.5 per game.
So that would have been a jump hook last year. Still not a bad shot, but taking that to the bucket gives you a better chance of making it and then a better chance of getting fouled.
Pretty good D here because the back screen had him open, but suffocating on the baseline.
Defense by Gary Brown was last touched by Patterson.
That's that same play that Truck Bryant was able to pop out earlier in the game and get an open three. And this time he just jumped in there, set a little screen for Kalichla to be able to curl around. Boy, is that he is big and strong, got big hands.
Yeah, let's go!
There he is again.
That's his brother, I think. Istanbul, great name for him. Just be careful with the ball in traffic. That's what he's got to make good decisions.
Kalichla 6'9", 260 pounds.
Jones has got to get the ball. He was open there. One dribble to the baseline, he's wide open.
And Bryant does a good job selling the call. He was fouled, but he made sure they noticed.
Looked like they're ready to go bear hunting or something. We will take bear.
Some sort of cage match.
Great personality, though. Charming guy.
He didn't speak much English when he came here. Not the Mountaineer mascot, Dennis Kalichla. Well, perhaps it's true of both of them. You never know.
Oh, you are sacrilegious.
But Bob Huggins said he learned English largely by watching TV.
Bob or...
At least on Bob's vocabulary. He learned English off a select few channels because some of what's in his vocabulary you can't hear on
X-rated
every channel. 1-point lead, under 2 minutes to go. West Virginia on top. Come a tight defensive battle, and Woodall is a deep 2 for Trey Woodall.
Not too bad. I mean, he didn't have much room, much of a cushion there. A little rainbow release comes down wet.
He's just been toying with Brown the last couple of possessions. The pull up going to his right and then a little step back.
I wonder how much different this Pitt season would be if Woodall had not suffered that abdominal and groin injury. They went 5-7. Those 12 games he missed all over most of. Jones scores inside. 1 minute to go in the half. West Virginia back up by 1.
Oh, what a great find because he had the mismatch with Woodall on him. Nasir Robinson switched back on. They still went to him.
Nasir Robinson finds a rare open pass to the bucket through that West Virginia defense.
So they've done a nice job with that ball screen to the empty side and the rotation. Tardy.
They just fell asleep defensively. Truck Bryant should have been there to be able to take that charge. 2-3 zone right now for Pittsburgh.
About 8 seconds difference between the game and shot clock. Had 5 consecutive lead changes as the teams go back and forth now.
Start penetrating this.
Tag the shooters too. Stay at home.
Gary Brown out of Puerto Rico, a floater that didn't go. 10 seconds for Pittsburgh.
Kind of like Woodall getting a shot here the way he's been shooting it.
Uses a screen by Taylor and makes another 3.
Good call, Jay. The high ball screen set it up. Take a peek, he makes you pay.
Boy, he shoots it high with very impressive rotation on that ball.
Definitely didn't play in the church league with the low ceiling in the basement.
It's a lot different running a ball screen when you got a guy that can really shoot it coming off. And Trey Woodall just back from the injury, 4th game back. He is playing with a tremendous amount of confidence.
He has 16 points in the first half to lead all scores. 33-29 Pitt at the break. Now to Carl, Hubert, and Digger, the UPS halftime report.
When the things that you need come at just the right speed, that's logistics. Medicine that can't wait, legal briefs that might aid, that's logistics. Freight for you, box with me, box that keeps you healthy, that's logistics. Saving time, cutting stress when you use UPS, that's logistics.
This is the UPS Halftime Report.
Welcome to the UPS Halftime Report. I'm Cassidy Hubbard. Coming up, our Jay Billis breaks down how North Carolina's highest scoring offense could get even more productive in the UPS logistics of the game. And we'll profile Kansas forward Thomas Robinson and the tragic month that changed his outlook on life and the game of basketball. But first, the Murray State Racers are the last undefeated Division I team left in college basketball. And many people are wondering if the team from Murray, Kentucky is going to lose at all this year. Well, a man who may have a little insight into that is their head coach, Steve Prohm, and he joins us via the phone tonight. Coach, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be on.
All right, Coach, you're in your first year as a head coach. You're 21-0. The national spotlight is shining brightly on your team. How are you handling the pressure?
Just taking it day by day, continuing just to try to stay as humble as possible. I've got a very good support staff, very good coaching staff, and we've got experienced older players. So just taking things day to day, a lot of praying, and just trying to stay even keel and just handling everything. We're trying to be very, very humble and great humility.
Look, I mean, some people may be surprised, but those familiar with Murray State shouldn't be, because you're no strangers to success. The program is in the middle of its 25th consecutive winning season, a streak just behind Syracuse and Kansas, but you guys are undoubtedly having a special season. What do you attribute your success to this year?
Well, a couple things. Continuity in the program is one thing, I think, and people may overlook that. When Coach Kennedy left to go to Texas A&M, I was very fortunate and blessed to become the head coach here, but continuity, one. We have 5 returning players, 5 experienced players that were freshmen and sophomores when we beat Vanderbilt 2 years ago in the NCAA tournament, and that have been part of back-to-back conference championship teams over the last 2 years. So those 5 guys, that experience, and then the 4 newcomers, 4 new guys that we have into the 9-man rotation. I just think their unselfishness and their willingness to buy into team play has been a huge, huge key.
There's a lot of conversation about your strength of schedule and what seed your team deserves, even if you remain undefeated. What do you say to the critics who argue that you shouldn't be ranked in the top 10?
Well, we played 21 games. We beat everybody on our schedule so far. So we're 21-0. But when you look at our non-conference schedule, we have 3 RPI wins in the top 35. We're 3-0 against the top 35. And I heard Jay Billis say it. I don't know how many teams in the country are 3-0 against the top 35 in the country. We also have the most road wins in college basketball right now and are the only undefeated road team in college basketball right now. So, and then when you look at our non-conference schedule and measure that against the other non-conference schedules of the teams in the top 25, ours is as good as many of those teams. I even saw one ranking where we had one of the top 5 toughest non-conference schedule of the ranked teams. We've traveled to Baltimore, Morgan State. They've only had 8 home losses in the last 4 years. We won there. We won at UAB. We won at our rivals, Western Kentucky. We won the Great Alaska Shootout. We beat Dayton at home, which is having a tremendous year, and beat Alabama. We've beaten Southern Miss, who's winning Conference USA, and we gave Memphis their only home loss of the year.
Of course, I mean, Coach, you're probably going to have to be, defending your team, because people are going to be asking. And there's been conversation about what seed that you should be in. Our bracketologist, Joe Lenardi, currently has you guys as a 7 seed. If you remain undefeated, what seed would you give your team?
If we remain undefeated, probably a 4. I just think we aren't in a BCS league. And I think Coach Izzo said the other day, he had a very good quote about us that, without question, we could compete in those leagues. We may not win it, but we could definitely compete at a high level in those leagues. But a 4 seed would be definitely fair. The NCAA committee is going to do a great job seeding everybody. You had the VCU backlash last year, and they went to the Final Four. So a 4, if I was on the committee, I would say a 4, but we would just be privileged to be in the tournament.
Well, Ivan Aska returned to your lineup against Eastern Illinois for the first time after missing 6 games with a broken right hand. How's it looking this weekend? What does it mean to have him back on the court?
Well, it was one of the best moments that I've been a part of coaching when he got back on the floor. We had our 2nd consecutive sellout of the season the other day when he came back against Eastern Illinois Saturday, and he got about a minute standing ovation when he subbed in about at the 14-minute mark, and just shows you the immense amount of pride this place has in their program, in Murray. But he brings us another post threat. He brings us more a defensive presence, more rebounding, and a guy we can throw it to on the block that can score and put pressure on the defense. And he's a senior, and he's played in a bunch of games. He's played in a bunch of meaningful games. So he brings a lot to the table when you look at experience.
Well, Coach, we look forward to seeing how Aska and the rest of your team performs when you host Southeast Missouri State Thursday night. That game can be seen at 8 Eastern on ESPNU. Coach, thanks for joining us on the show, and good luck to you the rest of the year.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Coming up after the break, Jay Billis breaks down how UNC's top-scoring offense can be even more productive, and we profile Kansas forward Thomas Robinson's incredible story of adversity after a heartbreaking experience of loss. That's next.
ESPN, your NBA destination. The brightest stars, the marquee matchups, the NBA, Wednesdays and Fridays at WatchESPN.com and on the Watch ESPN app.
This is the UPS Halftime Report.
Welcome back. North Carolina has one of the most effective offenses in the country, leading the nation in scoring. The Tar Heels' dominating attack was on display once again in their 93-81 win over Georgia Tech on Sunday. But as our Jay Billis points out in the UPS logistics of the game, UNC's offense still has a lot of room for improvement.
North Carolina is one of the best offensive teams in the country, but they can be even better. They average 87 points per game, but if their execution gets better, if they set better screens, if they take their time, this can be the best offensive team in the country. Their sets are well designed in the half court and in their secondary break. Let's start with their secondary break. Bring the ball up the right side, a handoff, then a drag ball screen in transition, but the real action is on the baseline, a low cross. Supposed to be a screen, but here it's just an exchange, and Tyler Zeller gets great position, 2 feet in the paint, where that's an easy layup. In a set play, a 1-4 set, let's take a look at North Carolina's execution. Hit, then the point guard Kendall Marshall bumps back. Immediately they look into the low post to Tyler Zeller. He's got a double team coming after him. On the opposite side, it's a double screen down low. Usually it's curl, but he didn't have it. He kicks it back out. Then they reverse it and look again into the low post. Another double team, but the spacing is really good. The passing is excellent. They take their time. Then they've got another look into the post and a wide open shot for Harrison Barnes. And when Harrison Barnes takes his time, he is one of the best offensive players in the country. North Carolina can be the best team if they take their time, they execute, and they continue to pass it well.
Thanks, Jay. While North Carolina continues to show that they have one of the best offenses in the country, Kansas features maybe the best player in college basketball. Thomas Robinson is leading the National Player of the Year discussion, averaging just over 17 points and 11 boards a game. And many feel that he could be selected as the #1 overall pick in the upcoming NBA draft. As a sophomore, Robinson was a solid contributor off the bench as the Jayhawks' sixth man. But now as a junior, the 6'10 forward is playing with a lot more purpose. Purpose that may be rooted from the tremendous loss he endured last year, changing his outlook on what he can gain from the game of basketball.
Kansas's Thomas Robinson is used to being the man of the house. Growing up in Washington, D.C., it was just him, his mother Lisa, and his sister Jayla, who is 12 years younger.
It was definitely my mom and my sister. When Jayla came, I was definitely excited because that's my angel. That's my little baby.
Hi, sweetie. Hi, boo-boo.
While his mom worked, Thomas babysat his sister. And if he was out playing basketball, he would sometimes drop Jayla with his grandparents. But when Thomas grew into a 6'10" college prospect, he chose Kansas, far away from his family.
My mom was terrified of planes, terrified. And the change, her coming out of here, coming back out here to Kansas with me was kind of tough at the time.
Early in his sophomore year, December of 2010, Thomas's mother called to say his grandmother died. 2 weeks later, she called again with more bad news. His grandfather had passed away.
I'm not even over my grandmother yet, far from over it. And I get the call that my grandfather passed. Now I'm mad. I was sad some days. I didn't want to do anything.
He kept saying, I don't know how good my mom's doing, because mom was experiencing some health issues.
11 days later, the night before Kansas was to host Texas, Thomas's cell phone rang again.
My little sister was on the phone, crying. She told me that my mom had passed.
His mother had died of a brain aneurysm. In a span of 25 days, Thomas had lost 3 family members.
It was probably as hard a night as I've had as a coach, and he was just crying uncontrollably. And he looked at me and said, Coach, you don't understand. I don't have anybody. All I have is my sister.
That was my whole reason for breathing. And I just felt like somebody took it from me for no reason. I was up the whole night, and I just woke up with a whole different type of motivation. I wanted to get back on the floor. That was my escape. I showed up to the shoot-around, and I told him I wanted to play.
Thomas Robinson's mom, Lisa, died last night. It is hard to imagine the grief in his heart.
Later that week, the entire Jayhawk team flew to Washington, D.C. for the funeral in support of Thomas and his sister. Thomas wanted to bring Jayla back to Kansas with him, but her father, James Paris, who was not Thomas's father, had just been released from prison after serving 4 years on drug charges and requested custody of Jayla.
That's almost a lot of mixed feelings about him too, but he loves his daughter and she loves him, so that's also something that I thought about, as far as me wanting to take my little sister right now. I can't do that because, she just lost a lot. It's not the best timing for it. Being away from her at the time is a sacrifice that I have to make.
So 1 week after his mother's death, Thomas left his sister in D.C. with James and returned for a home game against Kansas State.
From that point on, my whole purpose for playing basketball is different.
Are you kidding? Are you serious?
He was playing for much more than himself. He's playing for his sister.
Robinson again.
Oh, he's feeling good now. The Robinson show.
I made my mind up that my little sister won't have to worry about anything. I grew up my whole life wanting to be an NBA player, and once I handle my business, I have her by my side.
I would never say he needs to leave, but I hope Thomas is able to leave. I hope this is his last year at the University of Kansas.
You mad because your game ball?
I just felt like I can't stop. So everything I do every morning, still for her, still for my sister. Nothing's gonna change.
Robinson and the Jayhawks look to bounce back from their first Big 12 loss of the year, falling to Iowa State on the road on Saturday. Wednesday night, they take on Oklahoma at home, and that game can be seen right here on ESPN3 at 9 Eastern. That's a wrap on the UPS ESPN3 halftime reports. I'm Cassidy Hubbard. Enjoy the second half.
Raining down. So, Herm, this week, how tough is it? Even today, it's been years since that, back in 1981, I believe. Is it still tough to come to Super Bowl week and see teams getting ready for the big game, and you still think about what could have been?
Well, I'll tell you this. Until I started working for the worldwide leader, from the day that we lost that Super Bowl, I never watched the Super Bowl.
Wow.
I always told myself, hey, the only time I'll watch is if I'm in another one. And I obviously never reached it again. And until I started working here, I wouldn't watch it. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I could care less about them. This is the first time I've been to a Super Bowl venue, to be quite honest, since the one that basically we lost in Super Bowl 15.
It's a fraction of a whole, it's hard to control. Get this straight.
And we welcome you back to Big Monday, presented by Bud Light from Morgantown, West Virginia. The backyard brawl, West Virginia and Pittsburgh. The Mountaineers raced off to a quick 8-point lead, but the Panthers rallied. West Virginia had just one rebound over the last 9 minutes and 51 seconds of the half. And it was Pittsburgh closing the half on a run led by Trey Woodall, leads all scorers in the game. He scored 8 of the last 10 Pittsburgh points of the half. Kind of took the game over there in the last few minutes.
He sure did, and West Virginia tried just about everybody on him. They had Jabari Hines on him, Gary Brownlee, put Truck Bryant on him, but coming off ball screens, just a simple little pull-up jumper, a little step back here. The defense over pursues. Bill, he was terrific, especially last play.
It shows how strong he is, that little discard, and he doesn't need much space, and you better not give him that opportunity because he's going to drill him. He's back. He's healthy.
Pittsburgh just got more easy baskets in that first half than did West Virginia. They dominated points in the paint.
And they hit 6 of their last 7 shots of the half to take the lead. Foul called as Lamar Patterson tried to dribble past Keaton Miles, who's whistled for the personal foul. That's his third. He played only 4 minutes in the first half. Lamar Patterson to play it into Trey Woodall with Nasir Robinson, Ashton Gibbs, and Dante Taylor beginning the second half for Jamie Dixon. Woodall again had it spin off. He got it back.
He's amazing. He is strong, Jay, and persistent.
And he's having fun out there. He's got a tremendous smile on his face, and West Virginia doesn't like to see an opponent having fun. He is enjoying himself out there.
If I were West Virginia, I would just go power. Get the 2 bigs involved. Give them touches. They're stronger. Nice post up. Calls Robinson the foul.
West Virginia went under that first screen. The ball screen went over the second one. Jabari Hines got caught behind. And then again, just quicker to the ball, quicker to those what we called 50-50 balls. And
nice to see somebody here smiling, huh?
Exactly.
Other than you and me.
He's out there playing, and I'm sitting over here with you two. Woodall has a chance for a career high tonight. He has 18 points. His career high is 25, which was in their season opener this year against Albany. Dante Taylor called for his second foul.
Cannot reach over there as a defender. He hasn't pushed off the lane 1 or 2 steps yet. Sometimes that's got to be good enough.
Jones did the cut that opened up the passing lane. Nice little play. You're right, the little silly nickel dot. Look at the big guy.
Offensive fouls to call.
Is that like a shot fake by the referee? It's like he faked it.
In fairness to him, I think he was waiting for somebody else to make the call. If they get in the way of this guy, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't think he beat him to the spot.
No. He may have walked before, if anything.
Yeah, that's a terrible call.
Well, you see, Ed Corbett was going to call it a charge, too. Then he didn't make the call. Sean Corbin did. Sean Corbin hesitated, Jay. That's what you and I both saw. And you wonder if Sean Corbin was going to have it the other way until he saw Ed Corbin underneath the basket kind of balk a little bit.
Good question. I don't know. I don't know what the referees are talking about right now.
Well, I think, if I saw correctly, Sean Corbin indicated the foul was on number 5, Kevin Jones, and he had nothing to do with the play. So they need to confer. I think Sean Corbin was really totally confused.
Now, those are tough. I mean, the charge block call is the.
They got it right. They got the right number.
They changed it.
They changed the number.
To Kalichwa. His second.
I've just always felt, I really believe it now, that a charge has become way too easy to get. I don't think the defender beat Kalichwa to the spot. And in that case, I think it's got to be obvious for it to be a charge.
Nice reaction there by Kalichwa, but he's at a disadvantage with the bounce.
Patterson, now Woodall, still 15 to shoot for the Panthers. Woodall trying to pick up where he left off at the end of the half. Patterson poked the rebound away from Jones, and Nasir Robinson scores.
What a heads-up play by Taylor. And again, you had noted early or late in that first half, just more aggressive, pursuing the ball. Anything up for grabs they're getting.
Anything loose has belonged to Pittsburgh in this one.
Nice play to rub at the foul line.
Oh, Hines all alone and missed it. Keaton Miles lost it out of bounds, but was last touched by Pittsburgh.
There was an overload on the right side, and after the pass, just got a simple little back pick. Nobody stepped in, and that needed to be a bucket. You got to make that.
What's amazing, when you don't run it all game, you know they've walked through it. You just set up beautifully for it. Nice slip here by Jones.
Bryant to Jones. That's one 1,000 career point scorer to another.
I think there should have been a free throw on top of that.
Jones has 10. And the lead is 6 for Pittsburgh. How about Nasir Robinson? He has the ball now. Scored the last bucket for the Panthers. He's 4 for 4 from the field tonight after a 9 for 9 against Georgetown. Count the bucket? Or will they? No signal yet. Pat Driscoll and Sean Corbin looking at each other.
I think you're right, though. You got to count it. But what a nice play. But Taylor, very alert, getting to the tin. A lot of guys count the house. Not here. Step back and then a little dive on the penetration. Makes it a lot easier. If he doesn't close, he doesn't get a chance for three.
Yeah, by cutting to the ball when Robinson caught it, he was able to cut off the help coming down from the top.
You got a tee?
Yes, there is a technical called by Sean Corbin.
He's talking to his own player, he said.
Now Pat Driscoll's over to talk to Sean Corbin again. It was a very easy first half of these officials. This first 2 minutes and 20 seconds is shaping up as a disaster for this crew.
Sean Corbin's not looking over. I don't blame him.
The foul was on Bryant, the original foul. The second. Gibbs is going to shoot the technical.
We're going to call timeout first. Bobby can get a freebie here. Now he's going out.
Somebody better stop Bob Huggins because he's almost all the way to the center circle. And the crowd is really letting the officials have it now, and there's debris coming onto the court. Billy Hahn being warned by Ed Corbin to get back near the bench. And security folks coming out on the court to clear off some of the debris. Well, Huggins was still not pleased with the events that took place on Saturday with regard to the officiating, and unhappy again tonight. crowd has been energized by Bob Huggins' dispute with the officials. We believe that Bob Huggins was trying to get the attention of Truck Bryant. That's what he was telling Ed Corbett during the timeout. And calling him Truck. That's one of his players, and our timeout coordinator on the other side of the court right near their bench said he heard him say Truck. He was making that same mistake for 4 years. But Sean Corbin might have thought he heard something else. Gibbs, one of the best free throw shooters in the history of the school, short with the first one after the lengthy delay. And this crowd going crazy.
It's easily misinterpreted, by the way. It was an inside play that made it interesting, you know. Drive. We talked about Taylor reading it.
He's about to blow a gasket over there. If something else happens, I would not be at all surprised if Huggins gets another one and perhaps is asked to leave. And I don't blame him for being agitated, and particularly if he was talking to one of his players. And we mentioned they had the brutal call at the end of the game at Syracuse the other day. They had a terrible call that cost them a win against Baylor on a neutral court. They had a bad call and out of bounds play at the very end of the game at UConn, a game they had a chance to win.
And you don't get over it. I don't care what you say. You can bounce back, run a good practice, and then if something else happens, it ignites you, particularly with his personality.
Then all the conspiracy theorists get activated because I've talked to coaches at other universities, at schools that were leaving the league they were in to go to another one, and a lot of times they feel like they're going to get the raw deal because the folks are mad at them and everybody knows they're leaving.
But they're both leaving, though.
Yeah, both of these schools are leaving. But in the case of West Virginia, they're involved in a nasty court fight that's now gone to mediation with the Big East. West Virginia wants to leave immediately and play in the Big 12 next season. The Big East wants them to honor the 27-month commitment that the schools make to give notice before they can depart. Robinson called for his third foul.
What a rebound that was by Jones.
And this has become just another version of the backyard brawl here tonight. Because both are leaving the Big East eventually. Pitt going to the ACC along with Syracuse, West Virginia the Big 12. Neither coach knew for sure when we talked before the game if this rivalry would continue. There's so much of an unknown about when these schools are going to go on to their next league that's kind of on the back burner until they can figure it out, see what the conference schedules are like, how much room they have in a non-conference schedule. Quite possible they could both be still in the Big East next year.
Does this ignite, particularly on this defensive end, West Virginia? They get the nickel dimer inside.
West Virginia foul whistle on number 1,
Dominic Rutledge just into the game for West Virginia. Called for his first foul.
Played so well against Baylor and had a whole lot of minutes since.
They had 8 points in that game against the Bears.
Nice step and go by Woodall. What a read.
20 points for Trey Woodall.
And Lamar Patterson, a good passer. Hell of a release.
If you want to take that away, you can't always take away the cut, make him run through your chest if possible, but you have to put more pressure on the ball, otherwise you'll get picked apart.
Jones rather.
Jump ball.
Yeah, held ball. And with every whistle now, every eyeball in the arena goes to that man.
Ooh, and just outstanding rebounding ability this kid possesses, though, Jay. It just understands where the ball's coming up, how to get there.
Dante Taylor apparently held it long enough. Malich, though, trying to power in, and Woodall slapped it out of bounds.
He's got to be stronger with that ball. He gets it so low when he makes that little spin move. The ball's right down by his belt buckle.
And with those hands, how does he give it up so easily? I mean, immense. Got a
Bryant
corner
was
jumper.
wide open in the corner. They finally found him. And unlucky there as it popped out. And the Panthers have numbers on the break. The outlet by Taylor to Patterson. And he missed it. Jones the board. Hines the push.
Nice cut.
Jabari Hines the hook.
tough shot, too, going to his right hand.
7 for the freshman Hines. Woodall fouled by Kalichla.
His quickness, such a low center of gravity, he just exploded to the hole.
You think they missed this kid, Jay and Sean? Talk about his threes at the end of the half. Woodall's so tough. Whew.
Jamie Dixon, emotional just like Bob Huggins on the other sideline. Pittsburgh shooting 52% for the game now and leading by 8 as we go inside the play.
7 for 11 Trey Woodall, but all about the ability to set his guy up. Generally, you want to keep it away from the point guard. He does a nice job, Jay, setting his man up as the ball is on the center right here with Lamar. And then the step and go is just beautiful.
And then when he does make that backcourt cut, you want to have him run through your chest as a defender, but there's no pressure on the ball. Lamar Patterson, no vision taken away, not made to turn his back. If there's a little bit more pressure on the ball, maybe you have an opportunity to catch up. Otherwise, Patterson can just make that easy delivery.
Big edge in the paint for the Pitt Panthers. Woodall nearly doubled his season average. And they were 11-1 before he got hurt. It's amazing. I showed the statistical numbers earlier. The difference with and without him. And he's a guy who was a nice complimentary piece in recent years, but got off to a great start this year. Looked like he was going to be a candidate for most improved player in the Big East. He was averaging 14 points per game, 8 assists when he got hurt. Dropped in by Dennis Kalichla.
Just a simple little flex cut. You got to jump to the ball and get in his way there. Make him go low.
Woodall, the St. Anthony's kid, Sean. I mean, he's tough, great understanding of the game, great commitment because of the dad, Bob Hurley Sr.
Yeah. Trey Woodall was a prominent player in the Street Stops Here, that documentary about Bob Hurley and the St. Anthony program. Pittsburgh turns it over as Cameron Wright was called for his second foul.
Just a simple little flex cut. When the ball's reversal, screen here, and Kalichla comes off the top of it. You've got to jump in his way there. Nobody jumps to the ball, especially Dante Taylor, and he just cut right across his face to the basket. That is way too easy, but really well run by West Virginia.
First turnover in the second half for Pittsburgh.
Every time a pass made, the defender has to jump to the ball to take away the ball side of the cut.
They're trying to run the same thing. You got to chug him at least, too. Look at it. Nice lock low. The high-low. He's in that lane a long time.
He's in the lane for a month.
Taylor just waited for him. Wanted to jump shot. Go ahead and take it, but he's not going to get the rim.
Aiming right. Swatted by Jones, who raced to save it, but could not.
What effort by that kid. Extraordinary. Looked like a sure basket. Almost got a save as well. Terrific effort. Transitions extraordinary. You think got a nice little reverse. Let it hang on that glass.
It looked like he saved that one. That was a tough one.
Aiming right. Offensive rebound. Missed the putback. They wanted a goaltend on the Pittsburgh bench, and the Mountaineers can relate to that. Gary Brown threw up kind of a wild layup that got bailed out of the foul by Dante Taylor. His third.
What happened was Kalitza put his hand up in the rim. It changed the rim. You're going to get a vibration out of this. Anytime you put it in there, it's got to be goaltended. Great effort, but he just happened to put his hand in the wrong spot.
Well, Pittsburgh was asking the referee. They said, no, the ball was above the rim. It wasn't on the rim. But I agree with you. When you slap the backboard and it's vibrating, that's got to be basket interference.
Ron Huggins still chatting with Sean Corbin, who teed him up earlier over what Huggins thought was a miscommunication. He wasn't speaking to the official.
I think he was telling the nicknames of the other players to him.
Just in case they happen to sound like other bad words.
Thank God there aren't any kids named Chuck.
Well, you know what? If you're a coach who's prone to bad language, you could give your players nicknames that very closely resemble bad words, and then when you scream them out, perhaps you'll get the benefit of the doubt from the officials. West Virginia back within 6.
They are cutting very well and active. Screen, rescreen, pin down. Woodall sort of messed that up. The balance.
14 minutes to go.
Nice job by Bryant not to let Woodall have the ball back.
Leads on a nice drive and out of bounds. Last touch by Kevin Jones.
Kalichla did a really good job. I thought that was an easy goal with the bounce.
Did the ball hit the rim? Because the shot clock didn't reset.
I think it did.
Shot clock still shows 7. I think the officials are talking about that.
And Corbin saying yes to fall. A nice job by the big guy moving his legs here.
That clearly hit the rim.
A little cross screen and an earned pass.
This wasn't a hard cut. Lamar Patterson was wide open. It was like a slow cut to the ball.
I think he should have turned to the goal a little bit, sort of went right across the lane.
I think he should just run right to the spot. I mean, that was a really slow cut.
That's what Woodall thought. He was going to take another step toward the hoop, and he really didn't. Patterson.
Nice flash against the 2-3.
Jones way off of that shot. And Pitt looks to run. Up by 6. John Johnson. Wild layup. Talib Zana offensive rebound. And a foul.
Well, the running game, even if it doesn't have the impact initially with a score, they've got all the yellow shirts turned around and good aggressive offensive rebounding.
Well, that was such a great pass by Woodall, but Johnson's got to go stronger than that. Now, that's one where you got to get fouled and complete the play.
You didn't like that release, huh?
No. I don't think Jamie Dixon liked it either.
Miles called for his 4th foul. Sana gets the friendly bounce. Super Tuesday tomorrow night. Big Ten SEC action. 7 Eastern. It's Michigan State and Illinois at 9. Vanderbilt and Arkansas presented by KFC. 1 out of 2 for Talib Zana, a product of Nigeria. Played high school basketball official at McNamara in Maryland.
I thought Jamie Dixon took almost a KO punch with this team early on in the Big East. He has got them playing great basketball now, playing with confidence. I loved his attitude. A little nickel dimer underneath there. I think it might be right. No,
Jones? Zana, his 3rd.
But don't you agree what he's been able to do with these kids? Keep their attitude up, keep them performing.
Stayed positive.
Yeah, he really has. We had them a couple weeks ago at Syracuse, and they hadn't won a league game yet. And Jamie's demeanor was very positive, and he liked the effort and attitude his team was demonstrating. Made a big difference when they got the man who just went to the bench, Woodall, back. One thing they have done consistently well, even when they were losing, is rebound the ball. Kalichla powered in once again. Pittsburgh is plus 10.3 in rebounding for the season, and that has them third in the country. That was number one in the Big East in rebounding margin.
That was a nice play run. It was just Jones setting a little screen for Kalichla, and he was able to curl around it to get that position. That was nicely done.
Mini timeout called by Jamie Dixon. His squad up by 5 in the second half. Pitt by 5, just under 13 minutes remaining here in Morgantown.
Well, West Virginia running the same alignment time and time again, but Truck Bryant switched places there with Kevin Jones. He set the little screen. Kalichla curled around it, got inside position. A little bit of ball movement, got it into the Istanbul. Well, he could score with either hand around the basket. Really has good hands.
He's got a great understanding of the game. It's just a matter of being loose with it, bringing it low, as you mentioned, and with the little guys around, protect it with those big paws.
Panthers have missed their last 5 shots. They've gone nearly 4 minutes without a field goal. Still leading by 5. Patterson lapped away by Jones. Jamie Dixon didn't like it. Thought there was a foul.
Nice steal.
Great anticipation by Johnson.
Steps.
He traveled and got away with it.
Wow, you got to call that. Goodness. 3.5. It was like Dr. J in the old days in the ABA.
He was playing with the ball while he was doing it. That's why I'm surprised they didn't call it.
Wow. Now a little incidental contact in the lane. Patterson called for
1, 2, 3. Unbelievable.
Second foul on Patterson. Both teams are over the limit. I mentioned earlier the officiating wasn't really an issue at all in the first half. It has become one here in the second half. 12:06 to go. Both teams in the bonus. Jones, solid free throw shooter. 75%. Both teams done very well from the line tonight.
And Sean, just ride these two big guys, Jones and Kalichla, until they can stop you. I don't think the power of Pitt inside can contain those two.
It's interesting. Pittsburgh with the lead on the road, despite the fact that Ashton Gibbs, their leading scorer for the season, preseason Big East player, he's taken only 2 shots tonight. Wright was in trouble, and Jamie Dixon asked for a timeout.
A little different with Woodall getting the blow, isn't it?
Indeed it is. College hoops. Wednesday, pair games on ESPN2, 7 Eastern. UConn and Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And then at 9, it's Baylor and Texas A&M. Wednesday night hoops presented by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups on ESPN2. The Huskies not in the rankings, fell out in the rankings that came out today, and they were number 19 last week. First time UConn unranked since November of 2010. But they showed last year you can be in the bottom half of the 16-team Big East and still win the national championship.
Gotta have your head on though at this point.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan Boatwright, we talked about that earlier, getting him integrated again into the offense.
It'd be nice to have Kevin Walker when you're 9-9, but their big guys have to be more productive too. They haven't. Their whole team hasn't really sustained intensity through entire possessions and through 40 minutes. And until they do that, they're going to be inconsistent.
Yeah, don't go against that guy. He can get them going.
Saw the graphic. Pittsburgh hasn't won a Big East road game. 0-4. They were 7-2 on the last year in Big East play. Gibbs a miss, just his third shot of the night. Got poked around to Kalichna.
That was not a good shot. It was not in any sort of balance. It was challenged, and without Trey Woodall in there, it's a different Pittsburgh offense.
This lets Chuck play off the ball now, whether Hines or Brown on the floor.
Jabari Hines had the hot hand early. That one went around and out and wound up in the hands of Cameron Wright. Gibbs got a screen from Patterson. Zana decided to shoot it the second time. Plucked off the floor by Truck. Bryant.
Got to go inside here.
Jones turns to face Patterson.
Too tough. As he can put it on the deck, and you got Kalichna at the rim.
Another double-double for Kevin Jones. His 15th of the season. Just 23 games.
Timeout.
And another timeout called by Pittsburgh. Jamie Dixon burning through the timeouts here in the second half. Has just one left with 10:30 to go.
Trying to subside the house, and I'm sure getting Woodall back in one of the main reasons. Kevin Jones and the power game, its impact. He can break it down, jab step, drill that little 10, 15-foot jumper. And I love him when he gets himself inside too, Jay. This kid possesses one of those games that whatever you need, coach, I'll provide.
Right. Just a terrific motor. Goes after the ball. Understands how to play it. You know, last year he didn't have one of his better years, and it was in large part because he said he fell in love with the three. This year he shot the three on occasion, but he hasn't been in love with it, as he put it, and he's been a much more productive and a much better player.
He thought about the NBA draft, got some feedback from the NBA folks, and decided to come back for his senior year. And what a good decision that was. Having a huge year, always a solid player. Now the best player in the Big East. This is exactly midway through the conference schedule. Prior to tonight, half the league schedule had been played. Nice offense out of the timeout, and Gibbs scores. And at the midway point of this conference schedule, no doubt Kevin Jones would be the Big East Player of the Year if they had that vote today. And no West Virginia player has ever won that honor.
He is well on his way, though, the way he's playing.
Gibbs called for the foul as he tried to get away from a Kalichna screen. First foul on Gibbs, and it gets us to a full media timeout. Midway through action on the networks, including this one. It's developed into a typical Pitt, West Virginia game. 5-point lead for Ashton Gibbs. And the Panthers well below his season average tonight. He hasn't made a three. There have been only 2 other games this year in which he did not have at least 1 3-point field goal.
I have a feeling they ran that play, that back screen for him, just to get him untracked a little bit. Good coaches work hard to get their mainstays some opportunities.
Gary Brown's free throw popped out. West Virginia's not a good free throw shooting team. They've had a good night tonight, but for the year they're 64%. Only Cincinnati worse in the Big East. And more contact away from the ball.
Foul is called on West Virginia's number 25,
Chuck Bryant called for his third foul. The 8th team foul, 8 on each team. So this will be a 1-and-1 for Lamar Patterson.
Better settle in with both teams in the 1-and-1 with 10 minutes to go. It's going to be a while.
That's where Truck with that mismatch trying to fight his way around that low post screen. Patterson a tough guy because he can face up. We've seen him make some good passes.
Dante Taylor was in awfully early on that free throw.
Point of the night for Patterson after career high 18 Saturday and 7 assists in that game against Georgetown. He had a nice week last week, 18 and the 7 assists against Georgetown. He had 11 rebounds at career high last Wednesday in their home win over Providence.
He's averaging 13 over his last 3, including 5 assists.
Bryant out of the corner, 3 for Chuck Bryant to make it a 4-point game.
That 2-3 zone, you're just a little lax on the baseline. Robinson did not cover.
I think you got to come out and set a ball screen for Trey Woodall here.
Ashton Gibbs.
Not bad deployment though, empty side.
Woodall's so good off that. I mean, it's a really good play. Woodall is so good off those ball screens. Getting advantage situations. I think that's something they're going to continue to go to.
Well, got to give it to him when he's there. Nick Robinson's going to get it. Number 35. He just can't locate the number.
Fifth foul on number 35.
It's the 4th on Nasir Robinson. So that's a big foul.
Just a little overplay and not the necessary recovery. Great balance on that delivery by Gibbs. Seton Hall prep kid in New Jersey. Bob Farrell was his coach. They're naming the gym there after him, by the way.
After the coach.
Exactly. You have anything named after you? Either high school or college?
No. Hard to believe, isn't it?
Jay Billis named his house after himself, which Tom thought was bizarre. Here's the Jay Billis estate.
The Billis estate.
Jones made the front end of a 1-and-1. It'll be the last 1-and-1 at this end, as it's the 9th team foul against Pitt, and a tough one because Nasir Robinson is a key player.
One thing you don't want to do going forward is settle for jump shots. Take open ones, but you don't want to settle for them because every common foul you get rewarded with free throws.
Under 9 minutes to go. Pittsburgh the ball. And a 4-point lead. Woodall trouble on the dribble. And Kalichla wound up with it. Gary Brown leads the break.
Oh, goodness.
And charge just totally out of control. And ran into Lamar Patterson.
Why? Just fan dribble. Why? It's unbelievable. Maybe Klitzer shouldn't have given it to him because the numbers were even. Just think a little bit. Time of game, score, situation. You got some power game going. Take advantage of it.
Eight and a half minutes to go. Right to Gibbs with Woodall. There's Gibbs, and it's blocked by Kalichla. Jabari Hines, another freshman. He scored.
With that right.
Crowd going crazy. Bear in mind, Jamie Dixon has only 1 timeout left, but they will get a media break on the first whistle under 8 minutes, and we're under 8 minutes to go now. contact on that drive, and finally they whistled one on Jabari Hines. His third. And the media timeout.
Pittsburgh looking for back cuts, got a back pick and freed up Ashton Gibbs, but it was erased by Dennis Kalichlik. Great play.
How about the big guy with some power and, of course, the ability to finish with the offhand. Hines showing you a little spice in his life.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go. And in part by Toyota.
Sean McDonough, Jay Billis, Bill Raftery back at the WVU Coliseum with a great home court advantage for the Mountaineers over the years under Bob Huggins. They're 58-10 in this building. But they're trailing at the moment by 2. They were down by 10 not long ago. 7:49 left. Both teams are in the bonus. Kevin Jones another double-double tonight with 18 and 10 for the Mountaineers. And Trey Woodall had one of the best nights of his career offensively.
Ashton Gibbs.
He has 22 points on 7 of 11 shooting. A relatively quiet night for Ashton Gibbs. He's at the line to shoot 2.
And Woodall doesn't look like he's been out for all that long. He's hardly broken a sweat with that 22 points tonight.
It's all going to be the guards coming down the stretch, don't you think? Making good decisions, getting the ball to the right spots, as it is most nights. But particularly this game, it's frenetic, getting or seizing it, getting it under control, essential.
But don't you think that West Virginia still has to go inside?
Well, that's what I meant. Making those kind of judgments. Yes.
11 points now for Gibbs, so he's been in double figures in 21 of their 23 games this year. Rebounding dead even. They're the 2 best rebounding teams in the Big East in rebounding margin. Pitt number 1, West Virginia number 2 coming in.
Nice spin out. How clever. And what happened, Patterson stood up, Jay, straight up. You've got no sense of dexterity and the clever little hook and finish.
He must be outweighed by 30 pounds by Jones. And Jones is big and strong.
They doubled Woodall. That left Patterson free for a moment. He didn't want to take a corner jumper.
Lose the bounce against the big guy.
They did. And the shot was short. And rebounded by Jones after the Patterson miss. So now a 2 to tie. And a 3 for the lead for West Virginia. Led for most of the first half by as many as 8. Then they went down by 10 here early in the second half, and they've rallied back.
Well, we go back to Jones again inside. Use that high-low.
10 on the shot clock. Kalichlik, 1-on-1. Did not score over Taylor. And Ashton Gibbs helped on the rebound. Hit 3 for its last 12. And now 13. Brown kept the rebound alive.
You're right, so what a great play.
Jones for the lead. Air ball.
Bad shot followed by a bad shot. Those two shots, the first one by Gibbs and then the follow-up by Jones on the other end, unnecessary.
Sear Robinson on the bench with 4 fouls for Jamie Dixon. Woodall killing plenty of time. Tough catch, but Taylor made it. 10 to shoot. Patterson uncertain of what to do. Drives into Jones, who held his ground. Patterson a miss. And he scores on the 3rd try.
Way to stay with it. His body had forced Jones out of bounds almost, but good aggressive effort. He can make that shot too.
First field goal of the night for Lamar Patterson. Puts Pitt back up by 4 and a timeout called by Bob Huggins. He has 2 remaining.
Not too bad, huh, Jay? Good decision by him. Got to be physical in this league, don't you?
Yeah, Jones trying to sell that call, took himself out of the play.
Super Tuesday is tomorrow. Almost always follows Big Monday, featuring Big Ten and SEC college hoops action. 7 Eastern. Michigan State and Illinois at 9. Vanderbilt and Arkansas. Super Tuesday presented by KFC. Tomorrow on ESPN. What team do you guys think is the best in the Big Ten as we're midway through the conference season?
Well, I think it's Ohio State. I mean, they're the best defensive team. The best all-around team might be Michigan State. They're the only team in that league that's ranked in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. But Ohio State's so powerful. Their defense has been spectacular.
They've stepped up, you're right. And the wings with the length. Smith. And of course Thomas, and you're right, Green has been terrific for Michigan State as well. Draymond, whatever you need, a little bit like Jones, just fill up that stat sheet.
Barry Hines played it in to Gary Brown. And Rutledge is in the game with Bryant and Jones for Bob Huggins.
Rutledge really a guy you don't have to guard.
And of course, Kalisto getting a little blow, I think, from maybe the TV timeout.
Hines long with a 3. Brown swooping through the air, but Gibbs won the loose ball.
Nice pass.
Woodall off to Moore, and he's fouled his way to the goal by Rutledge.
Well, you can see the difference in this team. The decision making, guys diving at the appropriate time, and Woodall. You saw him earlier, Jay. He shortens the floor with those passes as well.
He's not throwing it to his teammate. He's throwing it to where his teammate is headed. His passes have been all right on the money.
2 shots for J.J. Moore. Both teams in a double bonus.
He's 79%.
Yep. Missed the first. Both teams shot the ball very well from the line tonight. Pitt 15 out of 19. West Virginia 14 out of 16. Pitt is a team 68%, middle of the pack in the Big East. We noted earlier West Virginia is second to last in the conference. Zana in.
A little better
5 minutes
matchup.
to go.
A little better matchup, Sean.
Liz in off the bench for West Virginia. And a 3 wouldn't go out of the corner for Bryant. And a Pittsburgh foul on the rebounding action against Ashton Gibbs, his 2nd.
That's one of the things you give up in that zone is all your guys knowing what their blockout responsibilities are. And Ashton Gibbs just turned, went to the glass, and Brown just beat him to the spot.
2-shot opportunity for Gary Brown. 60% for the year. 2 out of 3 from the line tonight. That release and rotation would make you think he should be better than a 60% free throw shooter.
Oh, he's got really good shooting for him.
Freshman from Puerto Rico. Went to high school in Florida.
Almost like Alonzo when you think of it. It takes a lot of time with that free throw. Really violate that 10-second rule.
Three-point game. Under 5 minutes to go. Pittsburgh still with the lead despite the fact they've made just one of their last 7 from the floor. West Virginia's 0 for its last 5 from the floor. Most of the recent damage under the line.
Zana's got to be busy. Screen, just make Klitschko do a lot of things.
Zana scores. Bryant hit the deck. The crowd wanted a foul. There really wasn't very much contact. As Bob Huggins stared at Sean Corbin on the way up, I'm not sure he agreed with that summation. Klitschko.
A foul. That is a foul.
Well, he does love contact. I mean, he asked for it.
It's amazing sometimes when you get the ball inside and you're the bigger guy, they don't call the contact in your favor. But if bigger guys on defense, oftentimes they will call it against the bigger guy.
Big possession here. They're up by 5. We're under 4 minutes to go. Developed into a defensive struggle, and they score again. Ashton Gibbs slicing to the hoop.
And Sean Woodall again. Nothing silly. He didn't jack it up. Found his backcourt partner.
Just keeping such good spacing on the offensive end. They're getting everything off the baseline to give them an opportunity to make some cuts to the basket.
Timeout Mountaineers. Each team with just 1 timeout left with 3.5 to go.
And that's that Zana screen. Nice job getting himself free. Klitschko doubled it.
Now that's a foul. No question about it. The referee said his hands were straight up. That's ridiculous. They weren't even close to straight up, and it was right across his arm. And that was just a beautiful play. They're giving themselves a lot of space to make cuts and to get something going toward the basket.
Certain pace when you got a good point guard. Nice relaxed attitude, not rushing things.
Well, it changes everybody's role. I mean, Ashton Gibbs had to go from a 2 guard to handling the ball. And all of a sudden now they've got 3 scorers on the floor all the time. I mean, that's 20% improvement in their offense.
It'd be like Sean's having a strained groin, and we'd have to do play-by-play with the same kind of difficulty.
Are you wishing that upon me?
No, we can't live without you is what I'm saying.
And you wonder, Pittsburgh obviously is 13-9 overall and 2-7 in the Big. They have a lot of work to do to get back into the NCAA tournament picture. And they've been in the last 10 NCAA tournaments, which is the longest active streak in the Big East. But they certainly seem to have the ability to make that kind of a run. It would help them tonight. Klitschko.
He wants him on. He thought he got whacked again. Well, just keep going at it. You're going to get those.
3 minutes to go. And the Panthers in no hurry as they cross midcourt. They're continuing to play without Nasir Robinson on the bench with 4 fouls. Jamie Dixon satisfied with the way it's been going without him. They've opened up a 5-point lead.
They're running their stuff, which I like. Not slowing down.
Patterson. It popped out to Kevin Jones.
Sticking with this zone. Klitschko and Jones have to be active.
Bryant line drive 3, and as Jones went up for the rebound, there was a foul against Pittsburgh's J.J. Moore, his second. West Virginia will be at the line to shoot 2 when we come back. 2:26 to go. Pitt by 5. That should be a good one. This one has turned into a good one as well. Kevin Jones at the free throw line trying to cut into a 5-point deficit for West Virginia. His 15th double-double of the season. It's his 10th game of 20 or more points with 10 or more rebounds. He'll shoot 2. Sear Robinson has returned for Pittsburgh now with the 4 fouls. Jones made 1 out of 2.
Pretty good time to put Sear back in, don't you think?
Yes.
A chance to do some damage and activity. Plus, he's got to guard Jones. He's got to be careful. Pick and pop gives him the open look.
Whoa! Robinson just back into the game. Almost turned it over, saved it, and they lucked out a bit as it wound up with Dante Taylor, who scored to give them a 6-point lead.
Now, Jay said the first half to get a lot of 50-50s. That was a great hustle play.
Jones, high arcing 3 out of the corner. Gary Brown sneaks in. He's a good rebounder at 6'1", averages 4 per game. Had 12 in a game earlier this year.
Pretty quick too.
Most guards don't block out, and if you make yourself available, which he did, pursue the ball, you have a chance.
It'll get back in Woodall's hands unless something good.
Yeah, Jones just got way too tight on Nasir Robinson. Looked like as Kevin Jones tried to get in a stance, he just lost his balance a bit and committed his first foul.
Hack-a-sack, maybe? Robinson 55, 56.
He just kind of stumbled a little bit.
Yeah, you're probably right. Pretty quick rebound on that trip.
Robinson is career 49.8 from the line, a little bit better than that 53 and change this year. It was 5 out of 6 from the line against Georgetown on Saturday. In that game, he missed only 1 shot the entire game. 9 out of 9 from the floor, 5 out of 6 from the line. 4 for 4 from the floor tonight. 1 out of 2. The lead 5. Under a minute and a half to go now here in Morgantown.
The Pittsburgh guards are going to have to rebound. Force that jump shot, got to help.
Hines got fouled. Ball came out of his hands. Patterson called for his 3rd.
And the last thing you want to do is foul in that situation. Stops the clock, allows West Virginia to score with no time going off the clock, and allows them to set something up.
67%. He doesn't get there much. Only 39 attempts all season long. That's fewer than 2 free throw attempts per game. Chance to make it a 1-possession game if he can this one.
They got that small lineup in now. Last few minutes for West Virginia. See if they can get after Pitt.
Regard for Jones and Kalichla. Taylor stripped to the ball, and it wound up in the hands of Gibbs. Woodall.
Oh, what a move.
Lost it, and Hines knocked it out of bounds. The partisans here thought Woodall was last to touch it on the way out, but the officials say no.
They had the right call too, Sean. He's from where I'm seated, but a great effort to gamble here, and it never goes off Woodall.
What a basket-saving play that was. Jets.
20 to shoot, 1 minute to go in regulation time. Woodall, beautifully done with the pull-up.
What control. Beautiful. Back to the empty side. Great understanding of where everybody is. Counts the house. Oh, look, the little kiss finish, Jay.
Just tremendous body control. Going pretty quick. And just stopped on a dime to avoid the charge. That was really nicely done by Woodall. What a player.
Some question about the time remaining in the game, so they've gone to the replay monitor to check on that one. Boy, there have been many great moments in this rivalry, and few as dramatic as Ronald Ramon's game winner in 2008. excruciating loss that night in February of 2008 for West Virginia. They hurt themselves at the line that night, 7 of 17. Well, there's a review at the replay monitors.
It's got to be over the time, right? Pretty offensive play, though. Great, yeah, a couple of seconds out. Oh boy, I'd say more than that, huh? 7 or 8.
About 4 seconds ran off, it appeared. Under a minute to go, should have stopped.
When the ball clears the net, it was about 55.4 maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
3 seconds.
Pitt's such a mechanism now because everybody in the right spot, and Woodall just clever, persistent. I love the way he passed the ball. Plenty of time to go. We've got to keep solid.
Put the clock back to 55. West Virginia needs to go in a hurry, down by 6. Less than a minute to go.
Let the bigs touch it.
At least they get inside, they kick it back out.
Glitch is such a great target in there.
Good defense by Pitt. Brown for 3. Bryant in for the rebound, and he's fouled by Lamar Patterson.
Again, the guard's not doing a good job for Pitt rebounding.
Pitt foul call number 21.
4th foul on Patterson.
Free throw line for the Mountaineers. Bryant, 2 shots.
Bryant back at the free throw line. 76% for the year. 6 out of 7 tonight. Missouri and Texas in the on-deck circle as soon as we're finished here in Morgantown. Keaton Miles comes back in.
John Johnson that gets Dante Taylor out of the ball game, so they trade for a good free throw shooter.
And the big thing too, also handle now, because they do some traps. West Virginia do a pretty solid job on it. They got great speed. See if they go big on the ball on the inbounder.
They don't want to catch the ball near the corners where they get trapped.
And they go Jones big on the ball. Well, he steps back. Let's see if again. They're going to take away his vision.
And he ran off again. Nasir Robinson plays it into Patterson, and Kalichla fouls him.
West Virginia
And that's 4 on Kalichla.
That's his 4th.
Both teams have been in the double bonus since early yesterday afternoon, so it'll be another two-shot opportunity.
Was that like a sledgehammer when he gave that foul, by the way? I mean, he comes down from pretty high.
Patterson is 72% for the season and 2 for 2 tonight.
You go back to man-to-man now.
If I'm Pitt,
yeah,
I would give it up for rebounds.
You're taking away threes.
It might be not a bad time to throw another wrinkle. They're sort of used to the. I think that the big thing is going inside. So is the zone better to keep them from doing damage in there, and keep the guards out on the threes?
Well, I guess my point is I wouldn't mind giving up 2s here.
Well, let the guards stay up. And you're right; they are going man.
Gary Brown. Wow, finds a wide open Hines. Missed the 3. Kalichla's tip didn't go. Kalichla has it back, and he scores. And we're down to 17 seconds to go. And a timeout call.
West Virginia timeout.
By West Virginia. They're finished with timeouts.
You love the persistence of Kalichla, though. Goodness. Pretty darn aggressive. The frenzy coming after the loose one. What a clean. See, there's the thing, too. Dribble drive, and you don't stay at home. You're giving up a 3 against man.
Yeah.
And it's a real dilemma. Good effort by the big fella.
He's made such stronger moves this year. Going to the basket rather than fading away from it, which he did a lot last week.
Here's a look at the Big East standings entering tonight's play, and this is the only Big East game on the schedule tonight. Syracuse 9-1. With the lead over Marquette. In some ways a quiet 7-2, and to me another amazing coaching job by Mike Brey with Tim Abramitis got hurt. You wondered how Notre Dame would score enough to win in this league. But the Irish continue to win. There's the bottom 8. And Pittsburgh down there at 2-7, but perhaps on the verge of its 3rd straight win.
And Buzz, too. I mean, what a job he's done with his team. They've had some games where they fall behind early, and they're persistent. But Odom is just a great competitor.
Buzz Williams' Marquette team in action at home in Milwaukee. Tomorrow night, they'll host Seton Hall. Syracuse is off until Saturday. They have a noon game on ESPN at St. John's.
It's such a difficult schedule to have to survive, and you really do have to survive it.
Exactly. A lot of small guys on the floor now, Sean, for Pittsburgh. Trying to match up with the smaller West Virginia team. Trap, maybe one pass, try and gamble, and then give it.
I think you got to foul right away. You try to make the steal, but then you got to foul right away.
Robinson trying to get it to Gibbs. Oh, they got a push called on Miles as Gibbs almost took a handoff out of bounds. Boy, Miles is fouled out.
At some point you got to stop. You're right, Sean. Coming that close.
He's grabbing him. Has him by the arm and a shove. Good call.
The problem is he fouled one of the best free throw shooters in the league.
You know, if he caught the ball, where was he going to go? Think about it.
Yeah,
we got out of bounds almost. He had done a great job forcing him to sprint like that. The free timeout.
Because Miles has fouled out. Miles, 5 fouls, no points. He didn't take a shot. And 1 rebound.
Don't you think this has to change in basketball when a guy fouls out? Put a sub in.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, why do you get rewarded for a guy fouling out?
I don't know. I've never figured out why that's so important. Like all these really smart coaches can't figure out who to put in without having a 60-second break.
Well, a lot of times they want to have a conversation with the official. That's part of the deal.
Ashton Gibbs. Only Sean Miller and Jason Matthews have been better free throw shooters in Pitt history.
2 pretty good names, huh? You spent a little time with Sean this weekend.
And he's very upset with you that you continue to call Jerome Lane's breaking of the backboard the dunk when really it was the pass.
It was the pass. He is absolutely right. It's like the catch.
Yeah, the Montana house doesn't refer to Dwight Clark's as the catch. It was the pass.
Or the immaculate reception.
15 seconds. Down by 6. Jones shoots a 3. Barely grazed the front rim. And the Pittsburgh Panthers have won their 3rd straight. With the return of Trey Woodall, who just traveled right before the buzzer. And it went uncalled. They have won 3 in a row after an 8-game losing streak. 7 of them in the conference. They get their first Big East road win of the season, led by Woodall with 24 points, 1 shy of his career high. And Gibbs had 15 points. Kevin Jones, 21 and 14 for West Virginia. Final 72-66. Jay Billis, Bill Raftery, Sean McDonough saying so long, Big Mountaineers, as number 4 Missouri takes on Texas. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now to Brent Musburger, Bob Knight, and Holly Rowe in Austin.